helped Ethan Cole build his empire from the ground up, but right before our wedding he confessed he was in love with my half-sister, Chloe. I agreed to break up, but on one condition. He had to help me win over his business rival, Dominic Vance. Are you insane? You've been chasing me for 10 years and never got me. Is this your way of getting back at me? Ethan's handsome face was etched with disbelief. I retorted defiantly, Dominic is taller and hotter than you. I stopped loving you ages ago, now I'm crazy about him. Ethan laughed, calling me delusional. Everyone knows Dominic Vance is completely out of everyone's league. No woman has ever managed to get close to him. So you have to figure it out. If you help me win him over, I'll sign away my inheritance rights and hand over our billion-dollar empire to you and Chloe. I turned away, pretending to be nonchalant, but tears instantly streamed down my face. Of course, I knew the chances of getting Dominic Vance were zero. I just wanted a mutually destructive way to release all this tangled, unspoken love and pain. But to my absolute shock, Dominic Vance took my hand under everyone's watchful eyes and asked, "What date are we getting married?" "This is my fiancée, Eleanor Hayes. She likes you, Mr. Vance. She likes your movie star looks, your decisive demeanor in business, the mature charm that settled in you over the years." Ethan's handsome face was pale with fury as he read the love letter I'd written to Dominic. He'd helped me write the letter, and all my fancy jewelry and designer clothes were bought with his platinum card. He skipped a major international meeting and drove me to the city's most exclusive restaurant, personally arranging a candlelight dinner, all to help me confess my feelings to Dominic. Dominic let out a cold laugh. "Is today April Fool's Day?" Ethan's jaw tightened in a visible struggle as he tried to appear nonchalant. "I'm not kidding. Eleanor really likes you. I'm helping her pursue you. You can leave now. Don't interrupt my time alone with Mr. Vance." I coldly dismissed Ethan, watching him disappear into the heavy rain. His back was lean and tall, more mature and charismatic than when I first met him 10 years ago. Back then, he was fresh out of college, interning at my father's company during summer break. His blue shirt was faded from washing, his eyes clear and stubborn, and he worked meticulously. I saw his character and talent, promoting him from a poor kid to the youngest vice president. "He says you like me, but your eyes clearly still love him," Dominic commented softly from beside me. His face was strikingly handsome, his eyes deep and profound. He sat there, like a god veiled by mist. Just then Ethan looked up at us from downstairs. I immediately, shamelessly, sat on Dominic's lap, wrapped my arms around his neck, and made it look like we were being intimate. "I apologize, Mr. Vance. I had to pretend I wanted to pursue you because it was the only way I could get some alone time with you. My real intention is to discuss a partnership. I'm begging you, please drop Ethan and invest in me." I didn't know if it was my imagination, but Dominic's eyes seemed to dim slightly. "You should know, I'm signing a contract next week to invest $5 billion in Ethan Cole." Of course, I knew time was critical. So I immediately pulled out the documents I'd brought, passionately introducing the company I had secretly founded. "I'm collaborating with University PhDs. Our technology is more mature than Ethan's team's, and it's 100% capable of commercial incubation." Dominic flipped through the documents, a smirk playing on his lips. "Everyone says you're a love brain, but I never imagined your own company would be so impressive." I forced a bitter smile. My father is incredibly sexist. He doesn't have a son, so he'd rather hand the company over to a male relative, a nephew, than to me. At first, I poured everything into mentoring Ethan, thinking we could run the company as a husband and wife team after we got married. But then he fell for Chloe Miller, my father's illegitimate daughter with his mistress. Dominic calmly reminded me, "The mistress you refer to is now your father's legal wife, and Chloe is the pampered Hayes heiress, adored by your father. If Ethan marries her, he'll still get the Hayes group." That was what I resented the most. I had poured my heart and soul into Ethan, only for it all to become Chloe's gain in the end. Years ago, when Chloe and her mother officially moved in and took over, it gave my mother a sudden heart attack and she died. I hated them. Ethan falling for Chloe was the ultimate betrayal. I want revenge on them, and now only you can help me. Drop Ethan and invest in me. My eyes burned with fervent pleading as I looked at Dominic, but his gaze was cold. He gripped my waist and gently moved me from his lap to a nearby chair. "I detest mixing personal feelings with business. Think clearly and then come back to me." Dominic gracefully departed, and I stumbled out after him, shocked to find Ethan still waiting outside the door. "I saw you throwing yourself at him, Eleanor. I never thought you'd be so shameless." His eyes seemed to blaze with fire. I sneered. "What? Are you jealous? Waiting so long downstairs just to mock me?" Before he could answer, Chloe's syrupy voice drifted from the nightclub across the street. "You're mistaken, Ellie. Ethan was waiting for me, not for you." She wore a shimmering sequin dress that hugged her curves, a stark contrast to my stiff suit dress. Ethan's tone with her was utterly doting. "Babe, aren't you cold?" He took off his coat and draped it over her. She whined coquettishly. Not enough. Ethan, warm my hands for me." Ethan immediately cupped her hands, gently blowing on them to warm them. I used to cry and demand to know why he loved her and not me. His answer was that I was always focused on work, like a grim, hardened man. Only a drama queen like Chloe could make him feel that spark of romance. "I'm totally wasted, Ethan. Take me home now." Chloe climbed into the passenger seat of the Ferrari. I snapped. "Get out. Ethan drove me here for my date with Dominic, and now he has to take me back." Besides, I bought him this car. Let Ethan choose, darling, Chloe pouted, then leaned closer to me and hissed maliciously. You pathetic shrew, you lost again. You can spend all the money you want, but you'll never make Ethan love you. And even if you stripped naked in front of Dominic, you wouldn't get him. Sure enough, Ethan chose her again, driving the sports car away with a roar. Just then, a few burly guys burst out of the nightclub, grabbing my hair and demanding money for drinks. Your sister didn't pay just now. She told us to find you. Hand over the cash or else. They leered, their dirty hands reaching for me. I immediately screamed. Let go of me, Ethan. Help me. Ethan hadn't driven far. I was sure he could see the scene in his rearview mirror, but he didn't stop. He hesitated for just a second, then sped away. It was just like in our relationship. He unhesitatingly abandoned me, choosing my lifelong enemy, Chloe, leaving me sleepless night after night, crying until my eyes were dry, and laughed at by all my enemies. Stop screaming. Come play with us, pretty girl. The club thug's foul-smelling breath was close to my face, his greasy hand gripping me tight. I finally snapped, pulling out the documents from my bag, and using them as weapons, wildly striking at them. The sharp edges of the papers cut their skin. My sudden fury forced them to retreat, step after step. When I turned, I saw Dominic Vance's Rolls-Royce parked by the street. After confirming I had repelled the thugs, his car started and drove away. He had witnessed everything, yet chose to stand by. A wave of frustration washed over me. I realized I didn't have the charm to make him like me, but I had to use the pretense of pursuing him to secure an investment. If I could just persuade him to drop Ethan and invest in me instead, I could turn the tables, climbing above Ethan and even my father. Unexpectedly, a video of me fending off the club thugs was filmed and posted online, even trending on social media. Hashtag Hayes Heiress Meltdown, hashtag Dumpedfiancydrama. The media gossiped wildly about my history with Ethan, saying I was a rich heiress who supported a poor boy, only for him to get rich and dump me for being a dowdy old hag. Asterisk slap. Asterisk Ethan slammed a stack of newspapers onto the table in front of me. The headlines and trending topics are all calling me a backstabbing scoundrel. Eleanor, you knew this was a critical time for me to lead the Hayes Group in fundraising and going public. How could you buy hit pieces to trash my name? I sneered. If you don't want people to know, don't do it. The media isn't wrong. I poured my heart and soul into you for 10 years. How are you repaying me? Ethan knew he was in the wrong, but his expression remained cold. You asked me to help you pursue Dominic, and I agreed. But he doesn't like you. What more can I do? That just means you haven't tried hard enough. You need to push harder. I grabbed his tie, manipulating him. At tomorrow's spring auction, I want to buy him a gift. Whatever I set my sights on, you'll get it for me no matter the cost. The auction was packed with high society figures, and Dominic Vance was there too. He was seated regally in the center of a private box on the second floor. Ethan, Chloe, and I sat in the front row, allowing me to clearly see that the first item up for auction was a piece by my mother from 30 years ago. Madame Hayes was a renowned jewelry artisan during her lifetime. Her early works are cherished by collectors worldwide. Today, 3 pairs of her earrings are returning to the market. I bid frantically, but every time I made an offer, Chloe would raise the price, clearly trying to outdo me. Help me. I shot Ethan a look. You promised me. You said you'd get me whatever I wanted today, no matter the cost. Ethan met Chloe's eager gaze and softly refused me. I agreed to help you bid on a gift to win over Dominic, but would Dominic even care about these earrings? Don't be silly. My heart was burning with anxiety. I regretted that all my cash flow was tied up in company operations, leaving me no extra money for bidding. In the end, Chloe successfully acquired all 3 of my mother's pieces. The wings on these butterfly earrings are too big. I don't like them. Chloe, with a flick of her wrist, cut the delicate gold filigree, and 2 gemstones tumbled to the floor. I was stunned. Are you crazy? How could you ruin perfectly good jewelry? I bought them so I can do whatever I want with them. Chloe cackled with glee, then broke and cut the other 2 pieces of jewelry, throwing them to the ground. Whispers and snickers broke out around us. Chloe's just trying to get a rise out of her. Exactly. Eleanor's mother clung to her status as the legal wife back then, making Chloe an illegitimate child for years, and her mother a publicly scorned mistress. But now Chloe has really made a name for herself. Everyone knows she's Richard Hayes' favorite daughter. They say Ethan loves her, and once he marries her, Eleanor will surely be kicked out of the Hayes Group. Eleanor is truly useless. No money to participate in the auction, so she can only watch her own mother's jewelry be destroyed. My heart bled in that moment, watching the jewelry my mother had painstakingly crafted, day and night, being desecrated into garbage. The auctioneer on stage presented the next item. A Breguet tourbillon timepiece from the early 19th century. Starting bid $1 million. Dominic Vance on the second floor was the first to bid, immediately raising the price to $3 million. It seemed he liked this watch. I instantly joined the bidding, going back and forth with him, pushing the price to $20 million. Ethan's face beside me turned dark. Chloe, unaware of the situation, scoffed at me. Don't pretend to be rich, you can't afford it. As Dominic bid a high price of $30 million, I directly shouted, whatever it takes. The entire hall gasped, shocked that I had the money to snatch something coveted by the billionaire Dominic Vance. My next sentence pushed the atmosphere to a climax once more. I'm paying with Ethan Cole's card, and I'm giving this watch to Dominic Vance. Everyone's jaws dropped as they watched me use Ethan's platinum card, instructing the staff to deliver the timepiece to Dominic Vance's box on the second floor, accompanied by a bouquet of red roses, a symbol of affection. Within half a day, the news of me spending Ethan Cole's money to pursue Dominic Vance swept through the entire high society circle. That evening, I was dressed to the nines. As I walked into the dazzling garage, Ethan rushed up to block me. Do you know what people are calling me now? They're calling me a humiliated cuckold, spending money to help my fiancé get another man. I gave him a sidelong glance. Better than being called a backstabbing scoundrel, isn't it? I'm actively taking the blame for the relationship, letting people think I'm the one cheating. Shouldn't you be on your knees thanking me? Ethan gnashed his teeth, forcing out a cold laugh. You spent my money. Did he like it? The he referred to, of course, was Dominic Vance. I lit up my phone screen, shaking it twice in front of him. See that? Dominic sent me a message 10 minutes ago. 8 p.m. tonight, Grand Zenith Hotel, room 8808. Ethan's face instantly turned ashen. I swaggered, patting his face. What are you gawking at? Hurry up and drive me to my date with Dominic. I believe Dominic Vance had been impressed by my sincerity. For this, I had prepared even more detailed business plans, determined to persuade him to invest in my company tonight. Ethan, driving beside me, frequently glanced at me in the rearview mirror, then suddenly spoke. Why the Grand Zenith Hotel of all places? I paused for a moment, then remembered. The Grand Zenith Hotel was where I had booked our wedding a year ago. The wedding date was next Thursday. Even the invitations had been sent out. I had bought wedding favors worth hundreds of thousands, and spent millions decorating the venue. Now the groom was driving me there for a date with another man. I sneered. Do you even care? The beach under that old bridge is where we first fell in love. 5 years ago, I almost drowned saving 2 children. Even the paramedics said I was gone, but you wouldn't give up. You desperately gave me CPR and artificial respiration, and I actually came back to life. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw the tears on your face, and I swore then and there that I would love you forever. Back then, Ethan and I truly were life and death companions. As I spoke, I felt a sense of weariness. Never mind. It doesn't matter. You've probably forgotten all about it anyway. I bet even the rocks we lay on have been swallowed by the sea. Ethan, who had been silent, suddenly slammed the accelerator, turning the sports car around and heading for the highway exit. I gasped. Are you crazy? I'm going to be late. Take me to the hotel. His dark eyes held a stubborn glint. Weren't you just talking about reliving the past by the sea? If you didn't want to, why bring it up? The car radio was broadcasting a hurricane warning, advising residents to stay indoors. I screamed that Ethan was insane, rushing to the beach in a hurricane to die. He sped to the beach and forcefully dragged me out of the car, searching for the rocks that had witnessed our bond in life and death. Heavy black clouds pressed down on the sea, giant waves roared, and a severe storm warning had been issued. Yes, I'm crazy. Why are you provoking me in such a twisted way? When you asked me to help you pursue Dominic, I wanted to kill him, he yelled at me. I scoffed. Don't pretend. You only agreed to help me pursue Dominic because I promised to sign the agreement giving up my inheritance of the Hayes family assets. You dream of seeing me out of the Hayes family, so that after my father dies, you and Chloe can have the entire Hayes fortune to yourselves. I didn't. Ethan's eyes were wide with desperation. He tightly cupped my cheeks, his breath close to mine, full of a mix of longing and suppression. You just don't understand me, actually. Actually what? I felt a strange tension. Just then his phone rang. My darling Chloe flashed on the screen. Ethan didn't hesitate for long before answering. The unspoken atmosphere between us instantly vanished. I knew it. Everything that followed was just as I expected. Chloe said she was scared of the thunder and needed Ethan to come to her immediately. No way. Your job right now is to take me to meet Dominic, I reminded him. Chloe heard my voice and started crying even harder. I'm so scared. Oh no, I accidentally fell, and my leg might be broken. Ethan, please take me to the hospital, okay? Her acting was awful, yet Ethan actually believed her. He immediately decided to drive to her house. What about me? Dominic is waiting for me. How am I supposed to get a ride in this weather? I angrily demanded. Ethan looked me directly in the eyes, stating seriously, I'm tired of playing this game with you, Eleanor. You'll never get Dominic Vance. The women who've chased him over the years were A-list celebrities, beauty queens, even daughters of powerful politicians or foreign nobility. Eleanor, you don't stand a chance. Besides, isn't your ultimate goal just to make me angry? Well, you've achieved your goal. Give up. There's no way I'm letting you see Dominic today. He gave me one last deep look, then truly abandoned me, driving off to rescue broken-legged Chloe. The hurricane was closing in, chilling my thin clothes to the bone. My entire heart felt cold and desolate. From then on, my feelings for Ethan Cole were nothing but hatred. The wind howled in my ears. Staying here would be life-threatening, but I couldn't even stand steady. I could barely move an inch against the wind. In despair, I saw a helicopter flying towards me against the wind, like a small boat battling the waves, perilous yet determined. The person inside opened the cabin door and extended a hand to me. The strong wind ruffled his hair, revealing his handsome, refined face. It was Dominic Vance. He said, I agree. Now come with me. The roaring wind howled like a wounded beast, whipping the ocean waves into towering walls of black water, that crashed violently against the jagged shore. The helicopter hovered perilously, its blades slicing through the torrential rain, kicking up a blinding mist. Dominic Vance stood at the open cabin door. The storm force winds tore at his tailored black trench coat, but his posture remained as unyielding as a monument. He held out his hand, a hand with long, elegant fingers unmarred by the elements, yet radiating an undeniable, grounding warmth. I agree. Dominic's voice cut through the tempest, low and resonant, carrying a strange, hypnotic authority. Now come with me. Eleanor stared at his hand. For 10 years, she had chased a man who would leave her stranded in a hurricane to nurse his mistress's daughter's fake injuries. Yet here was Dominic Vance, a man she had met only a handful of times, a titan, who ruled the city's financial empire, risking his life in a helicopter just to pull her out of the abyss. Without a second thought, she reached out and grasped his hand. The moment their palms met, Dominic gripped her fingers firmly, pulling her upward with effortless strength. Eleanor stumbled into the warm, pressurized cabin of the helicopter. The door slid shut, instantly sealing out the deafening roar of the hurricane, leaving only the steady, rhythmic hum of the engine. Eleanor collapsed onto the leather seat, shivering violently. Her clothes were soaked through, dripping water onto the pristine carpet. She looked up, expecting to see disgust or irritation on the face of the notoriously clean freak billionaire. Instead, Dominic draped a thick, dry cashmere blanket over her shoulders. He sat down opposite her, his deep, unfathomable eyes locked onto her pale, wet face. He picked up a thermos and poured a cup of steaming amber liquid, handing it to her. Ginger tea, Dominic said quietly. Drink it before you catch pneumonia. Eleanor took the cup, her hands trembling so hard the liquid sloshed against the rim. She took a sip, the sharp, sweet warmth spreading through her frozen chest. How did you know I was here? She whispered, her voice cracked and raw. My driver saw Cole's car speed away from the beach, leaving you behind. Dominic replied, his voice devoid of emotion, yet his eyes darkened significantly. I don't tolerate partners who get themselves killed before the contract is signed. Eleanor let out a dry, bitter laugh, wrapping the blanket tighter around herself. So you brought a helicopter into a Category 4 hurricane just to protect your potential return on investment? Among other things, Dominic said, leaning back. The soft lighting of the cabin highlighted the sharp, aristocratic lines of his jaw and the long, dark lashes, shielding his intense gaze. You spent 30 million of Ethan Cole's money today to buy me a Breguet timepiece. As a businessman, I am obligated to acknowledge such an aggressive pursuit. I did that to humiliate him, Eleanor admitted honestly, looking down at her cup. And to show you that I am willing to burn every bridge to align with you. I know, Dominic murmured. And it worked. But if you want to play in my league, Eleanor, you need to understand one thing. I don't do charity and I don't do half measures. The helicopter began its descent, landing smoothly on the private helipad atop the Grand Zenith Hotel. Dominic stood up, holding out his hand once more. Let's go. We have a contract to negotiate. Room 8808 of the Grand Zenith Hotel was the very presidential suite Eleanor had booked for her wedding next week. Standing in the foyer, she felt a profound sense of irony. The heavy scent of fresh lilies, her favorite flower, which she had ordered months ago to decorate the suite, still lingered in the air. Dominic walked past her, shedding his damp coat and tossing it to his assistant, who had appeared silently at the door. Prepare dry clothes for Miss Hayes. The same size as last time, Dominic ordered calmly. Eleanor caught the phrase. The same size as last time? When had he ever bought her clothes before? Before she could question it, she was ushered into the massive marble bathroom, where a hot bath had already been drawn, and a set of elegant, dry clothes awaited her. When she emerged 40 minutes later, she was wearing a soft, cream-colored silk blouse and tailored trousers. Her damp hair was dried, falling in soft waves over her shoulders. She walked into the main living area, where a fire crackled. In the hearth, Dominic was sitting by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the storm-ravaged city skyline. On the coffee table in front of him lay a thick stack of documents, the business proposal for etched, the company Eleanor had secretly built from the ground up. Sit, Dominic said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Eleanor sat down, pulling her gaze away from his striking profile. She tried to steady her breathing, adopting her professional persona. Mr. Vance, about etched tech. I've read the proposal, Dominic interrupted, his finger tapping the leather-bound folder. The core technology is impressive. Your team has solved the stability issue in commercial lithium-sulfur batteries that Ethan's team has been struggling with for the past 2 years. If this goes to market, Cole Corp's current valuation will be cut in half overnight. It's more than that, Eleanor said, her eyes flashing with a cold, sharp intelligence. Ethan's team didn't struggle with it. They ignored it because they wanted quick capital. They rushed their testing phase to get the Hayes Group's backing. If you invest the $5 billion in Ethan next week, you're investing in a beautiful hollow shell. Within 6 months, their batteries will begin to degrade, and the public backlash will ruin both Cole Corp and the Hayes Group. Dominic leaned forward, resting his chin on his steepled fingers. And why? Didn't you warn Ethan? You spent 10 years building his empire. You loved him. I loved a ghost, Eleanor said, her voice dropping to a whisper, though it was devoid of tears now. Only a cold, hardened resolve remained. The man I loved died the moment he chose my mother's murderer's daughter. Now, I want to take back everything I gave him. I built his throne. I can tear it down. Dominic watched her silent fury, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. Good. Anger is a much better motivator than love. But 5 billion is a massive sum. If I pull my investment from Ethan and redirect it to etched, the market will panic. The Hayes Group will use all their political and social leverage to crush your startup before it can even launch. Not if I have the Vance Group's absolute backing, Eleanor countered, looking him dead in the eye. And not if I sign over my inheritance rights to Ethan. Dominic raised an eyebrow. You're still going to give him the inheritance? Yes, because the Hayes Group is a sinking ship, weighed down by my father's terrible investments and Chloe's lavish spending. I want Ethan to inherit a debt-ridden, decaying corpse of a company. Let him marry Chloe and inherit a crown of thorns. Meanwhile, etched will rise from the ashes. Dominic stared at her for a long moment, the silence in the room stretching until it became thick with tension. An elegant plan, Dominic said softly. He reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a gold fountain pen, sliding it across the table toward her. But it lacks one crucial element. What? Protection, Dominic said, his deep voice carrying a sudden heavy weight. Ethan Cole is a desperate man. When he realizes he's been duped, he will stop at nothing to drag you down. Your father, Richard Hayes, still holds considerable social power. To survive their combined wrath, you don't just need a business partner. You need a shield that nobody in this country dares to touch. Eleanor frowned. What are you suggesting? Dominic stood up, walking over to her side of the table. He leaned down, placing his hands on the armrests of her chair, trapping her within his space. The scent of cedarwood, rain, and pure, masculine authority enveloped her. Let's make a deal, Eleanor, he murmured, his eyes locking onto her lips before rising back to her eyes. We keep your wedding date next Thursday. The venue is already booked, the invitations are sent, and the media is already watching. We simply changed the groom's name to mine. Eleanor's breath hitched. A contract marriage? A mutually beneficial alliance, Dominic corrected, his voice a low seductive purr. I need a wife to appease the Vance family board and stop their endless matchmaking attempts. You need the Vance name to shield etched and completely destroy Ethan Cole. After 2 years we can quietly divorce and you will walk away with 50% of the joint venture's profits. Eleanor's heart hammered against her ribs. To the outside world, Dominic Vance was an untouchable god, completely out of everyone's league. For him to propose this, it felt like a trap, yet it was the most beautiful, lethal weapon she could ask for. Are you sure you want to do this, Mr. Vance? Eleanor whispered. People will say you're marrying a cast-off. Dominic reached out, his thumb gently brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear. His touch was warm, sending a shiver down her spine. Let them talk, Dominic whispered. They will soon realize that it was Ethan Cole who threw away a diamond, only for me to claim it. He straightened up, extending the gold pen to her once more. Do we have a deal, partner? Eleanor took the pen. Without hesitation, she signed her name at the bottom of the etched partnership agreement and the preliminary marriage contract. We have a deal, Mr. Vance. The morning after the hurricane, the sun broke through the clouds, casting a bright, unforgiving light over the city. In the VIP ward of the city's private hospital, Chloe Miller lay in a luxury bed, her right leg wrapped in a neat, white orthopedic cast. She was scrolling through her phone, a smug smirk on her face as she read the trending topics about Eleanor's meltdown. Ethan Cole sat on the edge of the bed, his face pale and exhausted. He hadn't slept all night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Eleanor's desperate face as she stood in the howling wind on the beach, screaming at him as he drove away. Why did she bring up the bridge? He thought, his heart twisting with a strange, suffocating guilt. Why did she remind me of the day she saved my life? Ethan, darling, my leg hurts so much, Chloe whined, pulling him out of his thoughts. She reached out and grabbed his arm, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. If you hadn't come to save me last night, I don't know what I would have done. The doctor said if I had waited any longer, I might have been crippled for life. Ethan looked at her cast, a frown creasing his handsome face. The doctor said it was just a minor hairline fracture, Chloe. It shouldn't be hurting this much. Chloe's eyes flashed with a momentary panic, but she quickly covered it by pouting and shedding a few tears. Are you blaming me, Ethan? I was just so scared of the storm, and I wanted to protect you. Eleanor is crazy. She spent 30 million of your money to buy a watch for Dominic Vance. She's trying to ruin your reputation before the signing next week. Mentioning the 30 million instantly brought Ethan's anger back to the surface. He clenched his fists. She's doing it to get back at me. She knows the $5 billion investment from the Vance Group is crucial for Cole Corp to go public. She's trying to provoke Dominic into canceling the deal. Exactly. Chloe chimed in, leaning against his shoulder. She's so selfish. Doesn't care about your hard work. But don't worry, once we get married next week, the Hayes Group will officially merge with Cole Corp and will be unstoppable. Just then, the door to the VIP ward was kicked open. Ethan's assistant, Mark, rushed into the room, his face pale and sweating. Mr. Cole, we have a massive problem. Ethan stood up quickly, his brow furrowed. What is it? Speak clearly. The media, Mark stammered, holding up his tablet. A video has just been leaked online. It's trending everywhere. Ethan snatched the tablet. The video playing on the screen was shot from a high-altitude drone, showing the beach during the peak of the hurricane last night. In the video, Ethan's Ferrari was clearly visible. He could be seen forcefully dragging Eleanor out of the car, leaving her alone on the deserted beach as the storm raged before speeding away. The next clip in the video showed a black helicopter bearing the Vance Group insignia battling the winds, landing on the beach, and Dominic Vance personally stepping out to rescue Eleanor. The caption of the video read, Cole Corp CEO abandons longtime fiancée in Category 4 hurricane, tech titan Dominic Vance sweeps in for the rescue. The comments below were brutal. What a scumbag. He built his company on her back, and now he leaves her to die in a storm? And he's cheating on her with her half-sister, the illegitimate daughter. Disgusting. Look at Dominic Vance. He flew a helicopter in a hurricane for her. That is a real man. Cole Corp's stock is already crashing in pre-market trading. Boycott Cole Corp. How did this get leaked? Ethan roared, his face flushing with fury and embarrassment. Find the source and take it down immediately. We can't, sir. Mark cried. The video was uploaded by Vance Group's official media channel. Our public relations team can't touch it. And there's more. Mark hesitated, looking fearfully at Ethan. What else? The Vance Group just released an official press release. They have canceled the signing ceremony with Cole Corp scheduled for next Monday. Instead, they are hosting a grand press conference at the Grand Zenith Hotel. Ethan felt a sudden, cold dread settle in his stomach. For what? For Dominic Vance's wedding announcement. The bride is Eleanor Hayes. The tablet slipped from Ethan's hand, crashing onto the tiled floor. He stared at his assistant in absolute disbelief, his voice barely a whisper. What did you say? Chloe shrieked from the bed, her face contorting with rage. That's impossible. Eleanor? Marrying Dominic Vance? She must have seduced him. She's a shameless, disgusting whore. But Ethan wasn't listening to Chloe. His mind was in a complete frenzy. Eleanor is marrying Dominic Vance? The woman who had chased him for 10 years, who had loved him with every fiber of her being, was marrying the most powerful man in the country? No, it couldn't be. It had to be a trick. She was doing this to get his attention, to make him jealous. She's bluffing, Ethan muttered, his eyes wide and bloodshot. She's using Dominic Vance to threaten me. She loves me. She's loved me for 10 years. She wouldn't just give up on me like this. He grabbed his coat and rushed out of the hospital room, ignoring Chloe's screaming cries behind him. He had to find Eleanor. He had to hear her say it was all a lie. Ethan drove like a maniac through the city streets, heading straight for Eleanor's private apartment. But when he arrived, the building was surrounded by security guards wearing the Vance Group uniform. They refused to let him enter, treating him like an unwanted pest. Frustrated and desperate, Ethan drove to the Hayes Group headquarters. As he walked into the lobby, the employees, who used to treat him with utmost respect as the future son-in-law, were whispering and pointing at him. He could hear the words backstabber, leech, and scumbag drifting through the air. Ethan ignored them and stormed into the chairman's office. Richard Hayes, Eleanor's father, was sitting behind his massive mahogany desk. His face was red with anger, and he was furiously shouting into his phone. When he saw Ethan enter, he slammed the phone down. Ethan, what the hell is going on? Richard roared, slamming his fist on the desk. The board is in a frenzy. Our stock has dropped by 15% this morning. Why did you leave Eleanor on the beach? And why is she marrying Dominic Vance? I don't know, father. Ethan said, his voice strained. Eleanor is doing this out of spite. She's trying to ruin us. Where is she? Do you know where she is? She's at the Grand Zenith Hotel, preparing for the press conference. Richard spat. The Vance Group has locked down the entire hotel. Even I can't get in. You need to fix this, Ethan. If Dominic Vance pulls his investment, the Hayes Group's expansion plan is dead, and Cole Corp will go bankrupt before it even goes public. I'll fix it, Ethan said, his jaw tightening. I'll go to the hotel. She'll listen to me. She always listens to me. He turned and practically ran out of the office, his heart hammering in his chest. When Ethan arrived at the Grand Zenith Hotel, the entrance was blocked by dozens of media vans and security barricades. A crowd of reporters stood outside, desperate to get a glimpse of the century's most unexpected couple. Using his VIP status from his previous booking, Ethan managed to slip through a service entrance. He made his way to the top floor, heading straight for room 8808. The hallway was quiet, carpeted in deep blue. As he approached the double doors of the presidential suite, they opened, and Eleanor stepped out. She was wearing a stunning, custom-tailored emerald green dress that contrasted beautifully with her fair skin. Her hair was swept up in an elegant updo, and she wore a simple, yet breathtakingly expensive diamond necklace. She looked radiant, powerful, and completely out of reach. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. In the 10 years he had known her, she had always worn plain business suits, her hair tied in a practical ponytail, her face free of makeup. He had always complained that she looked like a lifeless corporate machine. But now she looked like a queen. Ellie, Ethan gasped, stepping forward. Eleanor stopped, her expression turning ice cold as she saw him. Ethan Cole, who gave you permission to come up here? Ellie, we need to talk, Ethan said desperately, reaching out to grab her hand. But before his fingers could touch her, 2 towering bodyguards stepped in front of Eleanor, blocking Ethan with their massive frames. Let go of me, Ethan yelled at the guards, then looked at Eleanor over their shoulders. Ellie, stop this madness. Are you really marrying Dominic Vance? Is this your way of getting back at me? Because if it is, you've succeeded. I'm sorry about last night, okay? I was just worried about Chloe's leg. Chloe's leg. Eleanor let out a cold, mocking laugh. Ethan, you're darling. Chloe didn't have a broken leg. She was seen walking perfectly fine into the hospital, and she only put on the cast after she entered the VIP room. My people took photos. Would you like to see them? Ethan froze, his eyes widening. What? No. Chloe wouldn't lie to me about that. She's been lying to you about everything, and you, in your infinite stupidity, believed her. Eleanor said, stepping forward. The bodyguards moved aside slightly, allowing her to look down at Ethan. But it doesn't matter anymore. Your opinion, your guilt, and your life have absolutely nothing to do with me. Ellie, please, Ethan cried, his eyes filling with tears of desperation. We built an empire together. We were supposed to get married next week. How can you just throw away 10 years of love for a stranger? Dominic Vance doesn't love you. He's just using you to get to the Hayes Group's technology. The Hayes Group's technology? Eleanor sneered. Ethan, the technology you're so proud of was developed by me and my independent team. The Hayes Group didn't contribute a single dime to it. And as for Dominic Vance, even if he is using me, at least he does it openly, with a $5 billion contract on the table. Unlike you, who used my love, my hard work, and my youth only to feed me to the wolves. Ellie, I love you, Ethan shouted, the words tearing from his throat. For the first time in 10 years he realized the terrifying truth. He was losing her. Forever, and the thought of a life without Eleanor was a cold, empty void. I was confused. I was blinded by Chloe. But it's you I want. I don't want the Hayes Group, I don't want Chloe, I just want you. Let's go back, please, let's start over. He fell to his knees, grabbing the hem of her dress, sobbing openly. Eleanor looked down at him, her eyes completely devoid of warmth. There was no anger, no sadness, only a profound, chilling indifference. Get up, Ethan. You're embarrassing yourself. A deep, smooth voice echoed down the hallway. Ethan looked up to see Dominic Vance walking toward them. He was dressed in a flawless charcoal suit, his presence so commanding that the very air in the hallway seemed to drop in temperature. Dominic walked over to Eleanor, naturally wrapping his arm around her waist, pulling her close to his side. Eleanor did not resist, instead she leaned into his warmth, looking up at him with a soft, genuine smile that she had never shown Ethan in years. The sight of them together stabbed Ethan's heart like a rusted dagger. Dominic Vance. Ethan snarled, scrambling to his feet, his face twisted with jealousy. You think you can just take her from me? She's mine. We've been together for 10 years. Dominic looked at Ethan as if he were looking at a speck of dust on his expensive leather shoes. 10 years, Dominic said slowly, his voice laced with a lethal calm. And yet, you never realized what a treasure you had. You left her in the rain, you humiliated her in public, and you used her brilliance to build your own name. You didn't deserve her then, Mr. Cole. And you certainly don't deserve her now. Dominic turned his gaze to Eleanor, his eyes softening instantly. The media is waiting, darling. Are you ready? Yes, Eleanor whispered, her voice steady and proud. I'm ready. As they turned to walk away, Ethan lunged forward, screaming her name. Eleanor, you can't do this to me. You'll regret this. But the bodyguards quickly grabbed Ethan, pinning him to the floor. He could only watch, his face pressed against the cold carpet, as Eleanor walked away, her hand tightly clasped in Dominic Vance's, leaving him behind in the dark. The grand ballroom of the Grand Zenith Hotel was packed with hundreds of journalists, photographers, and high society figures. The flashing lights of cameras were blinding, creating a dizzying atmosphere of anticipation. Richard Hayes and Chloe Miller sat in the VIP section near the stage. Chloe was wearing a heavy veil and oversized sunglasses to hide her furious expression, while Richard was anxiously tapping his cane, sweating profusely. When Dominic and Eleanor walked onto the stage hand in hand, the room erupted into a frenzy of camera clicks and shouted questions. Dominic led Eleanor to the center of the stage, guiding her to her seat with gentle, protective care before sitting beside her. Thank you all for coming, Dominic's assistant Mark spoke into the microphone. Today, Mr. Dominic Vance, chairman of the Vance Group, and Miss Eleanor Hayes, CEO of etched, have a major announcement to make. A reporter from the front row instantly stood up. Mr. Vance, is it true that you are marrying Miss Eleanor Hayes next Thursday? Isn't she the ex-fiancée of Ethan Cole, your business rival? Is this a hostile takeover of the Hayes Group? Dominic adjusted his microphone. His calm, deep voice instantly silenced the entire room. First of all, Dominic said, his gaze sweeping over the crowd, Eleanor Hayes is not a cast-off or an ex-fiancée to be gossiped about. She is the woman I have loved in silence for years, and next Thursday, she will become my wife, the matriarch of the Vance family. The room gasped. Loved in silence for years. Even Eleanor turned to look at Dominic, a faint blush creeping up her neck. He knew it was a contract marriage, but his delivery was so sincere, so intense, that for a moment, her heart skipped a beat. Secondly, Dominic continued, his eyes turning cold and sharp, the Vance Group is officially canceling all potential partnerships with Cole Corp and the Hayes Group. We have discovered major financial discrepancies and technical plagiarism within Cole Corp's recent public filings. This announcement was like a bomb dropping on the assembly. Richard Hayes stood up from his seat, his face turning pale. What? Plagiarism? That's impossible. Dominic ignored the outburst, gesturing to the giant screen behind him. 3 years ago, Miss Eleanor Hayes independently founded etched and patented the Zenith 1 lithium-sulfur battery core technology, Dominic explained calmly. Cole Corp's revolutionary technology, which they used to secure billions in pre-IPO funding, is a direct, unauthorized copy of Eleanor's early-stage development drafts she had stored on her personal laptop, which was accessed illegally by Ethan Cole. The screen displayed a side-by-side comparison of the two technologies along with digital forensic evidence proving that Ethan had copied the files from Eleanor's laptop 2 years ago. Furthermore, Dominic's voice was like ice. Cole Corp's technology lacks the crucial stabilization patch that Eleanor patented last year under etched. Without this patch, Cole Corp's batteries are highly unstable and pose a severe fire hazard. The Vance Group will be filing a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against Cole Corp for intellectual property theft and fraud. The reporters went wild, furiously typing on their laptops and shouting questions. Miss Hayes, is this true? Did Ethan Cole steal your technology? Eleanor stood up, stepping to the microphone. She looked stunning, her eyes burning with a fierce, brilliant light. Yes, Eleanor said, her voice clear and unwavering. For 10 years I tolerated Ethan Cole's selfishness because I believed we were partners in life and business. But when he chose to betray me, he also chose to betray the technology we built. He rushed a dangerous, unfinished product to the market just to satisfy his greed. Today, I am officially resigning from all my positions within the Hayes Group, and I am signing over my inheritance rights to my half-sister, Chloe Miller. She looked directly at Chloe, who was shrinking back in her seat, her face pale with horror. Chloe, you and your mother wanted the Hayes Group so badly, Eleanor said, cold, mocking smile playing on her lips. You wanted Ethan and you wanted my father's fortune. Today I give it to you. Have fun inheriting a company that is about to face a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit and complete bankruptcy. You bitch, Chloe screamed, standing up and pointing a trembling finger at Eleanor. You ruined us. You planned this. But before Chloe could say another word, several police officers in uniform walked into the ballroom, heading straight for the VIP section. Miss Chloe Miller? Mrs. Helen Miller? The leading officer asked, presenting a warrant. You are under arrest for corporate espionage, financial fraud, and the suspected intentional sabotage of the late Madame Hayes's medical equipment 5 years ago. The ballroom fell into a dead shock silence. Eleanor's hand clenched into a tight fist, her eyes widening. Sabotage of her mother's medical equipment? She turned to look at Dominic, who gently took her hand, squeezing it reassuringly. I promised you, Eleanor, Dominic whispered, his voice low and fiercely protective. I don't do half measures. Anyone who has ever hurt you will pay tenfold. No, this is a lie. Ethan, save me. Chloe shrieked as the police officers cuffed her hands behind her back. But Ethan Cole, who had just managed to drag himself into the back of the ballroom, was completely paralyzed. He stared at the screen, at the police, and at Eleanor, who was standing beside Dominic Vance like a star in the night sky. He had lost everything. His company, his reputation, his freedom. And the only woman who had ever truly loved him. The week passed like a blur of high-stakes drama. The Hayes Group stock completely collapsed, filed for bankruptcy, and was quickly acquired by the Vance Group for pennies on the dollar. Chloe and her mother were locked away, facing decades in prison after a thorough investigation revealed they had bribed a nurse to alter Eleanor's mother's heart monitor readings 5 years ago, leading to her sudden tragic death. Richard Hayes, ruined and abandoned, suffered a massive stroke and was confined to a public nursing home, completely forgotten by the high society that once praised him. Ethan Cole was ruined. His assets were frozen, his company dissolved, and he faced a massive criminal trial for fraud and patent theft. He spent his days sitting in his empty, repossessed apartment, drinking himself into a stupor, staring at the old, faded blue shirt he wore when he first met Eleanor 10 years ago. And then Thursday arrived. The Grand Zenith Hotel was decorated in a sea of white roses and soft, glowing candles. The wedding of the century was underway. Eleanor stood in the bridal suite, wearing a breathtaking, custom-made white lace wedding gown. She looked at her reflection in the mirror, her heart beating, with a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. The door opened and Dominic walked in. He was wearing a flawless black tuxedo, looking incredibly handsome. He walked over to her, his eyes locking onto her reflection in the mirror. "You look beautiful, Eleanor," he said softly, his voice carrying a warmth that was reserved only for her. "Thank you, Dominic," she whispered, turning to face him. "For everything. You gave me my revenge. You cleared my mother's name. I don't know how I can ever repay you." Dominic reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn, water-damaged notebook. Eleanor gasped, recognizing it instantly. It was her old design diary from 10 years ago, the one containing her very first sketches of the Zenith battery core, which she thought she had lost during her college years. Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice trembling. 10 years ago, a young woman was working late in her father's research lab. Dominic said, a soft, nostalgic smile appearing on his face. She was so focused, so brilliant, that she didn't even notice the young man from the Vance group who had come to negotiate a partnership. "She dropped this notebook in the hallway and I picked it up." He stepped closer, his hand gently cupping her chin, forcing her to look into his deep, loving eyes. "I wanted to return it to you, Eleanor. But when I came back the next day, I saw you laughing with a young intern in a faded blue shirt. You looked so happy, so in love, that I decided to step back and watch over you from afar." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears, not of pain, but of a profound, overwhelming realization. You loved me back then?" she whispered. "I've loved you for 10 years, Eleanor," Dominic murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "I watched you build Ethan's empire, my heart breaking every time he neglected you. And when he abandoned you in that storm, I swore to God that I would never let you cry again." He leaned down, his forehead gently resting against hers. "This is not a contract marriage, Eleanor. It never was. I used the contract because I knew it was the only way you would let me close to you. But today, I want to marry you. For real. Will you let me love you for the rest of our lives?" Eleanor looked into his deep, honest eyes, feeling the last cold remnants of her past melt away, replaced by a warm, burning fire of a new, true love. She wrapped her arms around his neck, a beautiful, radiant smile breaking across her face. "Yes, Dominic. Yes, I will." Downstairs, the wedding bells began to ring, their joyful chimes echoing through the city, announcing the beginning of a new empire, one built not on betrayal and lies, but on a love that had survived the storm.